picture this, right? You are standing right smack in the middle of a grocery store aisle.
Oh, the absolute worst place to be when you're tired.
Right. The fluorescent lights above you are like humming, that obnoxious, sterile hum. You are just completely exhausted. And you're staring, just totally paralyzed, at this massive wall of, 30 different protein bars.
Yeah, and like 20 different types of yogurt.
Exactly. Now, under normal circumstances, I mean, this is just a mildly annoying Tuesday evening errand.
Sure.
But for you, right now, in this specific scenario, you just had bariatric surgery.
Right, which changes everything.
It totally does. You made this massive, life-altering medical decision to change your body and your whole relationship with food, right?
Yeah.
Trying to do everything exactly right to heal.
Because the stakes are so high.
Yeah. But right now, a simple grocery run feels like you are navigating a literal minefield. Like every colorful package just looks like a potential trap.
Yeah, I mean, the psychological shift you experience after that surgery is just profound.
I can only imagine.
It really is. The grocery store fundamentally transforms. It stops being this place of, simple consumer choices.
Right, like picking between regular or crunchy peanut butter.
Exactly. It becomes this high-stakes testing ground. You are suddenly operating a totally different digestive system, basically.
Wow.
And one wrong decision in that aisle has immediate severe physical consequences. You aren't just shopping for dinner anymore.
What are you shopping for then?
You're basically trying to source the exact fuel required to keep your radically altered body functioning without triggering a major medical episode.
That is an overwhelming amount of pressure. And that pressure is exactly what we are getting into today.
It's a really important topic.
Yeah, we've got a fascinating stack of sources in front of us today. We're looking at the official documentation, the developer feature guides, and this architectural breakdown of a totally free app.
Right, the Bariatric Shopper's Companion.
Exactly, which most users just call Bariscan, right?
Yeah, Bariscan.
So our mission for this deep dive is to explore how this highly specific piece of technology is attempting to solve that exact crushing mental load of post-op grocery shopping.
Which is such a massive hurdle for these patients.
It really is. So we're going to look at the biology of how it scores food, the mechanics of why it flags certain ingredients.
All right.
And ultimately how its entire design philosophy is focused purely on making your life easier and significantly safer.
I love that focus on ease of use.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Because the core problem this app is trying to solve isn't really about the food itself, is it?
No, not at all.
It's about cognitive overload, right?
Yeah, exactly. The documentation frames this entirely around a concept called label math.
Label math. That sounds exhausting, just saying.
Oh, it's a pervasive daily exhaustion for post-op patients. When we talk about label math here, we are not talking about casually glancing at the calorie count.
Right, which is what, the average diet-conscious shopper does.
Yeah, exactly. For a bariatric patient, your physical stomach capacity has just been drastically reduced.
Like, how reduced are we talking?
Often to the size of a small egg or maybe a banana, depending on the exact procedure.
Wait, an egg? That's tiny.
Right. So when your portions are physically limited to just, say, 2 or 3 ounces per meal, the nutritional stakes of every single bite just absolutely skyrocket.
That makes sense.
Every single gram of food has to pull its weight perfectly.
Because there is literally no room for empty calories anymore.
None. Zero.
You can't just eat something because it tastes good and figure, I'll balance it out with a big salad later.
Right, because later doesn't exist in the same way. You physically cannot ingest the volume required to make up for a nutritional deficit.
Wow. So how do they even manage that at the store?
Well, to ensure every bite meets those stringent post-op requirements, you're forced to perform these complex calculations right there in the aisle, item by item.
Like doing algebra in the dairy section.
Pretty much. You are comparing protein to sugar ratios to ensure you hit your daily macro goals without, spiking your blood glucose.
Right.
You're hunting through these microscopic, multi-syllable ingredient lists looking for hidden metabolic traps.
Like high fructose corn syrup and stuff like that.
Exactly. And you are doing all of this while you might be physically fatigued from recovering from major abdominal surgery.
Oh, yeah. You're recovering.
Right. Or you're rushed because you have a life to live. Or you're simply experiencing the brain fog that comes with rapid weight loss.
The cognitive load of running those calculations for every single item you put in your cart, I would just give up.
It is draining to the point of tears for a lot of people.
I was actually reading through the examples in the source text, and there's one that perfectly illustrates how unfair this feels to the consumer.
Oh, the granola bar example.
Yes, it brings up that classic all-natural or low-fat granola bar, the exact one I'm talking about.
Oh, absolutely. We've all seen them.
The front of the box looks like it was designed by a holistic wellness retreat, right?
Right, with a little farm picture.
Yeah. It uses earth tones. It has a picture of a rustic farm or like a single green leaf.
Just screaming health.
And the typography just screams that this is a healthy, safe choice. But then you flip it over.
And you do the exhausting label math.
Right. And the nutrition panel reveals it has 24 grams of sugar, an abysmal 2 grams of protein, and the third ingredient is hidden high fructose corn syrup.
It's basically candy.
It is. It feels like you need a master's degree in nutritional biochemistry just to buy a mid-afternoon snack.
So, I mean, is the core issue here the actual composition of the food, or is it the deliberately deceptive way information is presented to us?
Well, it's a highly toxic combination of both.
How so?
It creates an environment that's actively hostile to a bariatric patient. The modern food industry frequently formulates processed products with cheap, hidden sugars.
Just to make it taste better. Yeah, to improve palatability and shelf life. This is especially true when they remove fat to label something low fat.
Oh, right, because without fat, it tastes like cardboard.
Exactly. They have to replace that fat with sugar so it's actually edible. But the presentation, the front of box marketing, is engineered to obscure that biochemical reality.
So the deception is the primary hurdle here.
Absolutely. Because the raw data on the back is so dense and the marketing on the front is so aggressively misleading, you're basically left completely without a compass.
You're just staring at those 30 protein bars with no rapid, reliable way to know which one aligns with your specific, delicate medical needs.
Which brings us to the actual utility of this app.
Right, because if the fundamental problem is a lack of reliable guidance amidst all this deceptive data, the solution cannot just be another calorie tracker.
No, another tracker just adds to the cognitive load.
Exactly. The solution has to be instantaneous translation.
You don't need a tool that simply regurgitates the nutrition label you were already looking at.
Right, I can read the back of the box myself eventually.
Exactly. You need a tool that functions as an interpreter. It needs to take that dense, deliberately obfuscated data, run it through a clinical filter, and translate it into a simple, binary, actionable language.
So you just need to know, in real time, can my altered digestive system handle this? Or will this put me in bed for the rest of the day?
That necessity drives the entire primary workflow of Bariscan.
So looking at the user guides here, the workflow is built entirely around friction reduction.
Which is key for ease of use.
It breaks down into this incredibly fast 4-step process. Step 1. You scan any standard UPC barcode.
Right, just with your phone camera.
Yeah, you just point your phone camera at the packaged food, whether you're standing in the middle of Target or just rummaging through your own pantry.
Okay, so what's step 2?
Step 2. You receive an instant suitability score ranging from 0 to 100.
Simple enough.
Step 3. You understand exactly why it received that score. And step 4. You find better swaps.
Now, the psychological power of this tool lies almost entirely in those last 2 steps.
The understand why and the swap features.
Exactly. The overarching user benefit here is education and redirection, not just restriction.
What do you mean by that?
Well, generic diet apps often provide like a simple red light versus a green light, or maybe a generic pass-fail grade based on an arbitrary calorie limit.
Right, like you ate too many calories today.
Yeah, but that black box approach doesn't educate you, it just judges you.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Bariscan provides a granular, visually distinct breakdown of exactly which macro or micronutrients drove the score up or dragged it down. It completely removes the mystery from the algorithm.
Oh, I see. So it doesn't just slap a big red fail on the screen and leave you to figure it out.
Right.
It actually says, this product is detrimental because we detected hidden high fructose corn syrup and hydrogenated oils, even though the protein content looked acceptable at first glance.
Exactly. It's actively teaching you how to read between the lines of the ingredient list over time.
That's huge.
But the most critical usability feature is what happens immediately after a failure.
What's that?
If a food scans poorly, you aren't left standing in the aisle empty-handed, frustrated, and hungry.
Right, which usually just leads to buying something worse out of frustration.
Exactly. So the Smart Swap mechanism instantaneously queries its database and presents 3 to 5 highly rated, bariatric-friendly alternatives within that exact same food category.
Wow.
Yeah. So if that deceptive all-natural granola bar scores a miserable 30, the app immediately shows you 4 other granola bars that have the high protein and low sugar your body actually requires.
And I bet it shows you products that are likely sitting on the very same shelf in front of you.
Yes. The psychological relief there has to be massive.
I mean, you are taking a user who is likely in a state of high anxiety thinking, I have no idea what to eat. Everything is going to make me sick. I should just leave the store.
Right. Fight or flight kicks in.
Yeah. And you're shifting them into a state of total empowerment and control. They can say, okay, I can't have this specific brand, but I have 3 scientifically vetted options right here.
It's brilliant.
It is like having a tiny, lightning-fast dietitian sitting in the child seat of your shopping cart.
I love that analogy.
Right, just swatting the dangerous decisions out of your hand and immediately handing you the correct ones.
It really acts as an expert-level, real-time filtration system deployed at the exact moment you are making a purchasing decision.
Intercepting the mistake before it ever enters your cart.
Or your body.
Okay, but I have to stop you there and push back on this, perfect algorithm concept.
Sure, let's hear it.
Because a score from 0 to 100 is incredibly convenient. A tiny digital dietitian is great. But how can a single algorithmic number possibly dictate my specific health?
It's a valid question.
Because healthy is a notoriously subjective term, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the nutritional needs of an Olympic swimmer are radically different from a diabetic.
Absolutely.
Which are radically different from a bariatric patient.
Yeah.
Diet culture tech usually fails because it reduces complex biology into a single arbitrary number.
Right.
So what is the actual mathematical logic behind the curtain here? If I scan a natural piece of fruit, is it going to fail it for sugar and tell me to eat a highly processed, chemical-filled protein bar instead?
Your skepticism is entirely warranted, and it actually highlights the exact difference between a generic calorie counting app and a specialized medical companion tool.
Okay, so how does it work then?
The sources provide a highly detailed architectural breakdown of the app's proprietary 0 to 100 scoring engine. It is not an arbitrary scale.
Good to know.
It's driven by a 6-factor algorithmic engine. And these 6 factors are specifically weighted based on clinical post-operative nutritional protocols.
Okay.
It's not simply measuring total calories or demonizing natural carbohydrates. It is evaluating the food's specific compatibility with a surgically altered gastrointestinal tract.
Let's strip this engine down and look at the parts then. Because the way they weight these factors is incredibly telling about what bariatric patients actually go through.
Yeah, let's look at the breakdown.
The first 2 factors make up fully half of the entire score. Sugar analysis commands 25% of the algorithmic weight.
Right.
And protein priority commands another 25%.
The reason those 2 specific macronutrients dictate 50% of the item's viability comes down to the stark biological realities of surviving and healing after gastric surgery.
Surviving? That sounds intense.
It is. Generic diets might emphasize creating a raw caloric deficit or, experimenting with low carbohydrates for aesthetic weight loss.
Like trying to fit into a dress for a wedding.
Exactly. But bariatric nutrition is fundamentally a protocol of cellular healing and physical preservation.
Okay.
Protein, which is weighted at 25%, is prioritized above almost everything else because your caloric intake might drop to 500 or maybe 800 calories a day in the early months.
500 calories a day, that's almost nothing.
It really isn't. At that severe deficit, if you are not consuming extremely dense, high-quality protein, your body will immediately begin cannibalizing its own muscle tissue for energy.
Oh, wow. So your body just starts eating itself.
Basically. Furthermore, the physical surgical site, the anastomosis, where your stomach and intestines were literally cut and sutured together, that requires massive amounts of amino acids to rebuild tissue and prevent catastrophic leaks or strictures.
So protein isn't about building big biceps at the gym. It is the fundamental building block keeping your internal organs knitting together while you heal.
Exactly. It's structural.
But what about the sugar side of that equation? Why is sugar penalized so heavily at 25%? Again, if I scan a banana, does the algorithm punish me for eating fruit?
That's a great question. The sugar analysis is actually highly sophisticated. It is specifically calibrated to flag added sugars, hidden industrial sugars, and high fructose corn syrup.
Okay, so it knows the difference.
Yes. It doesn't penalize naturally occurring fiber-bound sugars found in whole fruits like your banana.
That's a relief.
Right. For a bariatric patient, an influx of refined sugar isn't just a matter of consuming empty calories that might stall weight loss. Refined sugar is a literal, active metabolic threat.
How so?
Because the stomach's regulatory mechanisms have been altered or entirely removed. So a bolus of refined sugar hits the bloodstream and the intestines with violent speed, which triggers severe physical illness.
Wow.
So maximizing protein to heal the body and minimizing refined sugar to protect the body form the absolute foundation of this algorithm.
That brings us to the third factor in the engine, which commands a massive 20% of the overall score. Fat and dumping risk.
Right.
It specifically scans for high fat content and known physical triggers.
Which we'll talk more about in a second because that's huge.
Definitely. And then the algorithm rounds out with 3 smaller but still critical factors.
What are those?
Fiber content makes up 10%, which helps support steady digestion and blood sugar regulation.
Crucial.
Ingredient quality is another 10%, which is where the app actively hunts for and penalizes things like artificial sugar alcohols and hydrogenated oils.
Those can be really harsh on a healing gut.
And finally, calorie density makes up the last 10%. Ensuring that the tiny 2-ounce volume of food you are physically capable of eating is actually packed with heavy-hitting nutrients.
Right, rather than just being a puffed-up empty snack.
Exactly.
You know, the genius of the user interface is how it takes all of that complex, weighted biochemical analysis and presents it as immediate visual relief.
How does it look on the screen?
The documentation walks us through a hypothetical scan in the aisle. You pick up a yogurt, you scan the barcode, and the app instantly displays a large green 86.
Oh, nice.
And the text boldly declares bariatric friendly. But beneath that, it provides simple, distinct visual icons representing the algorithm's findings.
Like little pictures.
Yeah. You see a small egg icon next to the phrase high protein and a crisp leaf icon indicating low sugar.
Because the algorithm is doing the heavy lifting in the cloud, you are completely bypassing the mental friction of label math.
Exactly.
The clinical assessment happens in the milliseconds between your camera focusing and those green icons popping up.
It's instantaneous.
You don't even need to read the raw numbers if you're in a rush. You see the 86, you see the green egg, and you just confidently toss it in your cart.
It offloads the cognitive burden from the patient to the processor. You no longer have to be a biochemist. You just have to know how to point your phone.
Okay, I need to circle back to that third factor in the algorithm, though.
The dumping risk.
Yeah. I clearly understand why protein is essential for cellular repair, and I get why refined sugar is penalized. But why does fat and dumping risk get its own dedicated massive 20% chunk of the algorithm?
It's the most common complication.
Right. Well, the phrase dumping syndrome sounds deeply unpleasant. But what does it actually mean in a physiological context? Like, what physically happens to your body if you get this wrong and eat the wrong thing?
Understanding dumping syndrome is absolutely essential to understanding the daily, lived reality of a bariatric patient.
Okay.
It is the primary source of food-related anxiety and day-to-day fear. The documentation defines dumping syndrome rigorously. It is one of the most common and, frankly, most violent physiological side effects after bariatric surgery.
Violent.
Very. Biologically, it occurs because the pyloric valve...
Wait, what's a pyloric valve?
It's the mechanism that usually holds food in your stomach so it can be slowly broken down by acid.
Oh, okay.
After surgery, that valve has often been bypassed or altered. So when you consume foods highly concentrated in refined sugars or dense fats, that hyperosmolar food mass doesn't sit in the stomach to digest.
So where does it go?
It dumps rapidly and directly into the jejunum, which is the middle section of your small intestine.
So instead of a slow, controlled release of digested food over hours, your intestine is suddenly slammed with a massive, concentrated brick of sugar and fat all at once.
Precisely that, and the intestine is not designed to handle that concentration.
I can imagine.
When that massive sugar load hits the small intestine, your body basically panics. It rapidly pulls huge amounts of fluid from your bloodstream directly into your gut to try and dilute the sugar.
Whoa, from your bloodstream.
Yes, and because fluid is rapidly leaving your bloodstream, your blood pressure suddenly drops.
Oh, wow.
Your heart starts racing to compensate, and the resulting symptoms, according to the clinical text, are severe and immediate.
Like what? What are the symptoms?
We are talking about intense, doubling over abdominal cramping, explosive diarrhea, sudden and profound dizziness, heart palpitations, and profuse cold sweating.
Oh my God. So we aren't just talking about mild indigestion or like feeling a bit bloated because you ate too much pasta.
Not at all.
We are talking about a systemic physical crash that completely incapacitates you. It sounds like your body is going into shock just from eating the wrong brand of yogurt.
It is entirely debilitating, and Bariscan addresses this specific terrifying threat head-on with its dedicated dumping score risk assessment.
How's that work?
When you scan an item, the app is not just evaluating it for general health or weight loss. It is specifically analyzing the sugar and fat ratios to determine its likelihood of causing this violent physiological reaction.
So it's predicting a medical event, essentially.
The app categorizes the dumping risk into 3 highly visible tiers: low, medium, and high risk.
Let's break those tiers down so we know what we're looking at.
Sure.
So low risk means you are clear, right? The app is mathematically verified. The product has low sugar, moderate and healthy fats, and quality ingredients that won't trigger that massive fluid shift in your gut.
Right, green light.
The medium risk gives you a yellow warning light to proceed with caution. It detected moderate sugars or heavier fats that might trigger mild symptoms, so maybe only eat a tiny portion.
Exactly, be careful with it.
And high risk is a blaring red alarm. It means the algorithm detected highly concentrated refined sugars, high fructose corn syrup, or saturated fat loads that are almost mathematically guaranteed to trigger a severe dumping episode.
Think about the psychological safety net this provides.
It's massive.
Right. Imagine the constant lingering fear of experiencing sudden dizziness, cold sweats, and severe gastrointestinal distress while you are, say, sitting in a meeting at work.
Oh, that sounds like a nightmare.
Or driving your kids to school or out at a restaurant. That profound fear causes immense food anxiety.
I bet.
Patients often become terrified to try any new foods. They'll eat the exact same 3 safe meals every single day because they simply cannot risk an episode in public.
That completely reframes the entire purpose of the app for me.
Yeah.
It isn't just a diet journal to help you lose weight. It is a literal pain avoidance system.
That's a great way to describe it.
By offering a preemptive, mathematically backed high-risk flag before you ever take a bite, the app is providing a psychological shield.
It really is.
It allows you to look at a food and say, okay, I'm not putting this back on the shelf because I lack willpower or because I'm trying to be good on my diet. I'm putting it back because this medical tool just analyzed the biochemistry and warned me it will make me violently ill. It takes all the emotional guilt and guesswork out of avoiding physical pain.
It transforms post-op diet adherence from a daily, exhausting act of willpower into a simple, objective act of self-preservation, guided by instant data.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though. I have to ask about the mechanics of this. Because bariatric surgery is a blanket term, but it isn't just one single procedure, right?
That's very true.
I have a coworker who had a full gastric bypass, but my cousin had a lap band procedure.
Totally different surgeries.
Right. With the lap band, they just put a restrictive ring around her stomach. They didn't reroute her intestines at all.
Right.
So if dumping syndrome is caused by bypassing the stomach, does my cousin even get dumping syndrome?
Usually, no.
Okay. So if this app gives her a high dumping risk warning based on a bypass patient's anatomy, wouldn't that be totally inaccurate or even dangerous since her physical anatomy is completely different?
Your cousin's anatomy is completely different, yes. And you have highlighted a critical vulnerability in generic health tech.
Right, because apps usually just lump everyone together.
Exactly. A one-size-fits-all bariatric app would be virtually useless and, as you said, potentially dangerous.
So what does Bariscan do?
Well, the physical reality of the digestive tract, how it processes macronutrients and the specific physical risks involved, they vary wildly depending on the exact surgical procedure performed.
Okay.
The developers of Bariscan clearly understood this, which is why personalization is the foundational architecture of the app.
The documentation actually makes a massive point of this. When you set up the app, it doesn't just ask, did you have weight loss surgery?
What does it ask?
It requires you to select which specific surgery you had. It currently supports 4 distinct surgical profiles.
That's impressive.
And the algorithm actually dynamically alters the mathematical weights of those 6 factors based on the anatomy of the surgery you select.
Let's examine how the algorithmic matrix shifts for each procedure, because this really demonstrates the profound clinical sophistication of the tool.
Yeah, let's go through them.
First, you have the gastric bypass. clinically known as Roux-en-Y or RNY.
Okay.
This is the classic, highly effective procedure where the stomach is reduced to a tiny pouch and the small intestine is severed and rerouted.
Right, the one my coworker had.
Exactly. For RNY patients, the app's algorithm focuses incredibly heavily on dumping triggers, refined sugar content, and severe malabsorption risks because their digestive routing has been fundamentally altered to absorb far fewer calories and nutrients.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Then you have the gastric sleeve, or sleeve gastrectomy, commonly called VSG.
Right.
For sleeve patients, about 80% of the stomach is surgically removed, turning it into a narrow tube, but the intestines are left completely intact.
So the pyloric valve is still there.
Exactly. The pyloric valve is still there. So for VSG patients, dumping is much less common, and the algorithm adjusts.
How does it adjust?
For them, it is optimized to focus heavily on protein-first eating, strict portion awareness, and high calorie density. It wants to guarantee that the 2 ounces of food they can fit in that sleeve is absolutely packed with dense protein.
Now contrast both of those with the third profile, the lap band, or adjustable gastric band, which is what your cousin had.
Right?
This is where the mechanical differences of the surgery become critical to the software. For a lap band patient, nothing is rerouted and nothing is amputated.
Right, just a band.
A physical silicone ring restricts the upper stomach. For this profile, the app's algorithm dramatically shifts its emphasis to analyze food texture, dense fiber content, and specifically identifying foods that could swell or get physically stuck.
Wait, stuck?
Yeah, causing the band to slip or creating a dangerous mechanical obstruction.
That is fascinating. So a dense, heavily fibrous food like, say, a tough piece of steak or stringy raw celery might scan incredibly well for a gastric bypass patient.
Right. The app would say, great, high protein, no sugar, 95 out of 100.
But if my cousin scans that exact same piece of celery, the app triggers a massive warning for her lap band profile.
Exactly.
Because that stringy fiber could literally knot up, get stuck in the band, and put her in the emergency room with an obstruction.
The very definition of a safe food is entirely dependent on the patient's unique surgical anatomy. What heals one patient could hospitalize another.
That's wild to think about.
It is. And the fourth surgical profile the app supports is SETI.
SADI.
Single anastomosis duodeno-ileal bypass.
That's a mouthful.
It is. SETI is a highly complex procedure that results in a very profound degree of intestinal malabsorption.
Meaning they don't absorb nutrients well.
Right. Patients lose weight rapidly, but they struggle immensely to absorb enough vitamins and proteins.
So what does the app do for them?
So for SETI to profiles, the algorithm provides highly advanced scoring with an intense, overriding focus on extreme nutrient density, high protein adequacy, and specific fat tolerances to prevent malnutrition.
It is effectively 4 entirely distinct, highly specialized apps housed under a single icon.
Yes, exactly.
The back-end software architecture required to constantly adjust the mathematical weight of those 6 algorithm factors against a database of hundreds of thousands of foods, all based on 4 different anatomical profiles. I mean, it's staggering.
It's a huge technical achievement.
But the brilliance is that they have designed it so the user experience remains as simple as pushing a camera button and seeing a green number.
It is the absolute hallmark of elegant software design, absorbing immense clinical and computational complexity on the back end so that the user experiences nothing but simplicity and relief on the front end.
But that elegant design makes me wonder about its real-world fragility.
What do you mean?
Well, we know the app is clinically smart. We know the algorithm is highly customized to the individual's gut. But how usable is this massive, complex database when you're actually pushing a metal shopping cart through the cavernous center aisles of a big box store?
I see where you're going with this.
Let's be real, the Wi-Fi in those stores is notoriously terrible.
Oh, it's non-existent.
The metal roof blocks all cell service. I've been in grocery stores where my phone essentially becomes a very expensive glowing brick.
Same here.
If this app requires a constant high-speed connection to run its algorithm, it's going to fail right when the user needs it most.
Well, the development team anticipated that exact frustrating real-world pain point.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. The documentation explicitly highlights works offline as a core foundational feature of the app's architecture.
Really? Fully offline?
Fully offline. Once the user downloads the app and completes the initial database sync, The core scanning and scoring functionality runs locally on the device.
That's amazing.
You can scan barcodes, run the complex algorithmic scoring, and access your entire history and favorites list deep inside a concrete grocery store without a single bar of cell service or internet connection.
That completely eliminates the friction of use.
It does.
You are never left stranded in the soup aisle, staring at a can of broth, waiting for a little loading wheel to spin endlessly, while you wonder if purchasing it is going to make you violently ill.
The tool is always instantly available, regardless of infrastructure.
And that profound level of real-world practicality extends to another feature that might seem minor to a developer, but is actually deeply impactful to the daily life of the patient.
Which one is that?
The partner shopping dynamic.
Yes. The text mentions this specifically, and I think it is the hidden psychological gem of the entire platform.
Right. The guide says, let your partner shop for you.
It's such a relief.
Think about how the interpersonal dynamic shifts in a household after one person undergoes bariatric surgery. The entire domestic routine is upended.
Completely.
If a spouse, partner, or even a roommate goes to the store to run errands, they are suddenly terrified of buying the wrong thing.
Because the stakes are so high.
Exactly. They didn't undergo the surgery, they haven't spent hours sitting in the clinic with a bariatric dietitian, and they don't inherently understand the intricate biochemical details of a SADI versus a lap band nutrition plan.
It creates a tremendous burden of knowledge on the partner, leading to anxiety and paralysis.
I can imagine.
Often, to avoid making a dangerous mistake, the partner simply refuses to shop for food.
Oh, wow.
Meaning the recovering patient feels forced to do all the grocery shopping themselves, even when they are physically exhausted or healing, just to ensure they have safe food in the house.
That's so unfair to the patient.
But with Bariscan, the partner simply downloads the app, syncs it to the patient's specific surgical profile, and takes the phone to the store.
They don't need to understand macronutrients or label math.
Nope. They just scan the items, look for the high green scores, and make safe, clinically vetted choices instantly. It completely democratizes the complex medical knowledge within the household.
It removes the friction from the relationship and the chore. The partner is empowered to help, and the patient is allowed to rest.
It's a win-win.
And speaking of rebuilding domestic normalcy, the app includes features like a curated list of 20-plus featured essentials, which acts as a cheat sheet of pre-selected bariatric staple foods.
That's super handy.
It also features a history and favorites section, allowing the user to build a highly personalized food journal. The documentation talks about using this specific feature to rebuild your safe foods list.
If we look beyond the technology and examine the emotional journey of the post-op patient, the concept of a safe foods list is vital to their mental health.
How so?
After surgery, as the clinical literature notes, your entire relationship with sustenance is fractured. Foods that you used to love, foods that used to bring you comfort, might now trigger severe pain or dumping syndrome.
You essentially have to learn how to eat all over again.
Exactly. The app acts as a trusted, objective guide to safely rebuilding that relationship item by scanned item until the user has established a solid, reliable foundation of foods they know they can trust.
Restoring confidence at the shelf without requiring them to obsessively analyze every detail.
Precisely.
And the scanner itself is robust, recognizing hundreds of thousands of UPC codes, from massive chains like Walmart down to specific proprietary brands at Trader Joe's.
Very comprehensive.
But here is the part of the documentation that immediately triggers my skepticism.
Uh-oh, what's the catch?
It emphasizes, repeatedly and in bold text, that this app is 100% free forever. It states, no subscriptions, no premium tiers, no hidden in-app purchases. One of the only truly free bariatric apps with full features, no strings attached.
That is rare.
Now, obviously, removing the financial barrier is an incredible benefit for patients who have already drained their savings on a massive surgery, hospital stays, and expensive new wardrobes as they lose weight.
Sure.
But we all know how the tech industry works. If a highly sophisticated, beautifully designed product is truly 100% free, you are usually the product.
Right.
Your data is being sold, or there's a massive catch. Who exactly built this incredibly complex 4-in-1 algorithmic tool, and why on earth are they giving it away for free?
That exact question brings us to the origins of the app, which actually illuminates both the business model and the underlying clinical philosophy of the developers.
Okay, let's hear it.
The app was built and funded by the team behind a physical product line called Bari Liquid Force.
Okay, so they are an established nutritional company already operating in the bariatric space.
Yeah.
What exactly is Bari Liquid Force and how does it relate to the app?
According to the source material, Bari Liquid Force is marketed as the most comprehensive bariatric vitamin currently available on the market.
Because post-op patients need heavy vitamin supplements, right?
Yes, for the rest of their lives, due to the malabsorption we discussed earlier. This specific product features a massive profile of 29 essential nutrients and a 42 superfood blend.
Sounds intense.
But the critical differentiator, and this ties directly back to the altered bariatric physiology we have been analyzing, is its specific physical delivery mechanism.
Delivery
So
mechanism.
it does not use hard, chalky tablets. It utilizes rapid-absorbing liquid gel capsules.
Oh, I see the connection. Because the stomach pouch is so tiny and because the digestive acids have often been bypassed, a hard, compressed vitamin tablet might just sit there like a rock.
Exactly, or pass completely through the intestines without ever breaking down or absorbing.
But a liquid gel capsule bypasses the need for heavy stomach acid. It breaks down and absorbs passively into the bloodstream in minutes, not hours.
The clinical logic is identical across both their physical and digital products. The development team clearly possesses a deep, nuanced understanding of how fundamentally altered these patients' digestive systems are.
Right.
They applied the exact same philosophy of rapid absorption and high metabolic efficiency from their physical liquid gel vitamins directly to the software design of their digital app.
That makes total sense.
The liquid vitamin bypasses the physical struggle of a broken digestive tract. The Bariscan app bypasses the mental struggle of post-op label math.
It's a brilliant synergy. They are building a complete, holistic ecosystem of support. The app acts as the shield at the grocery store, preventing you from buying the wrong foods, and the vitamins act as the safety net at home, filling in the inevitable nutritional gaps caused by malabsorption.
And strategically, by providing a genuinely helpful, high-quality, clinically accurate tool entirely for free, they are building immense brand trust within a highly specific, highly skeptical bariatric community.
Right, because when a user relies on Bariscan to keep them safe from the agony of dumping syndrome every week at the grocery store.
They are naturally far more likely to trust and purchase that same company's nutritional supplements when they need them.
It is a value-add model built on genuine utility rather than data harvesting.
Exactly.
And regarding access, the text notes the app is currently available as a fully functional free download on the Google Play Store for Android devices.
What about iPhone users?
The iOS version for Apple users is currently in late-stage development, and patients can actually sign up on their website to be notified the precise moment it launches on the App Store.
That's great news.
Before we wrap up, I want to highlight one final, absolutely critical piece of information buried at the bottom of the source material.
Oh, the disclaimer.
Yes, it's a strict medical disclaimer. As amazing as this app sounds, as empowering as having that tiny algorithmic dietitian in your cart might be, and as chemically efficient as the liquid vitamins are, the developers are drawing a very hard line.
They have to.
This app provides algorithmic guidance and nutritional education only. It is explicitly not medical advice.
Yeah.
The disclaimer reads, everyone's tolerance is different. Always follow your surgeon's and dietitian's specific plan.
It is a vital, necessary reminder of the limitations of consumer technology.
Definitely.
No matter how sophisticated a six-factor algorithm is or how well it adjusts for a Roux-en-Y versus a Sadie procedure, it is still just a mathematical tool.
Right.
It is a supplement to professional, individualized medical care. It is never a replacement for it. The app cannot predict every individual biological idiosyncrasy, food allergy, or healing complication.
So if a patient uses the app, eats a highly rated food, and still experiences severe abdominal pain, vomiting, or dehydration.
The app cannot diagnose them. They must seek emergency medical care.
And furthermore, food manufacturers constantly and quietly alter their recipes and nutrition panels.
Oh, all the time.
A yogurt that was safe in January might have added high fructose corn syrup in March. The user must use the app as a guide, but maintain their own baseline level of vigilance.
Trust the algorithm, but always verify the package.
Exactly. Well, if we step back and look at the sheer amount of biological and psychological terrain we've covered today, it is staggering.
It really is a deep dive.
We started out standing in a chaotic, fluorescent-lit grocery aisle, entirely paralyzed by the deceptive marketing, the hidden sugars, and the exhausting, tear-inducing anxiety of trying to perform complex label math while recovering from major reconstructive surgery.
Right.
And we've explored exactly how a completely free piece of technology The Bariscan app uses a deeply customized 6-factor clinical algorithm to instantly cut through that noise.
By doing the math in milliseconds.
Yes. It actively prevents severe, debilitating physical pain, like dumping syndrome. It restores a sense of agency to the patient, and it allows users and their incredibly stressed partners to navigate the modern food landscape with absolute confidence and safety.
Whether you are, a technologist fascinated by how algorithms can be trained on complex gastrointestinal anatomy, or you are a patient currently navigating the exhausting post-op journey yourself,
Yeah.
it is profoundly encouraging to see tech deployed this way. It takes an overwhelming, terrifying medical mandate like eat this way or you will end up in the hospital and distills it down into a simple, instantaneous, empowering green light.
It doesn't just manage data. It significantly improves the user's daily quality of life.
It is a perfect example of technology removing friction to create actual human relief.
But, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Something that has been bothering me since we started dissecting the food industry's deceptive practices.
Yeah.
This app uses incredible, highly complex technology to mathematically decode the modern grocery store for a highly specific, vulnerable medical population.
Right.
It strips away the soothing earth tone marketing to reveal the hidden industrial sugars and the dangerous, cheap ingredient ratios lurking in our food. But it really makes you wonder.
What's that?
If navigating a standard grocery store safely requires a specialized algorithmic scanner just to uncover the truth and keep a bariatric patient from becoming violently ill,
Yeah.
what does that say about the safety and integrity of the food that is being aggressively marketed to the rest of us standing right next to them in that exact same aisle?
Yeah.